the Miami Dolphins are really putting together, a quality roster and organization. And say what you want about the Flores deal, wasn't very pretty. However way you want to get into that, but we won't. The fact, though, is, Greer's been there a while, and so there's good stability there. It looks like they made the right hire with Mike McDaniel. The Vic Fangio addition should be a stroke of genius, even if he's only there for a year. Who knows if he'll get another head coaching job? Maybe not. Maybe he'll be there longer, because Dolphins have Vic Fangio there for a few years. That's going to be danger for a lot of other teams competing in the AFC. So I tell you what, we'll start at the top. Any way, shape, or form that Miami is, Mike White was brought in. Was the deal to bring in Mike White the only quarterback move that they felt they had to make for 2023?
I believe so. I think they're rolling forward with Tua. It's 95% about the medical, right? And that's something that we're probably not going to get access to at this point. Tua was headed towards an all-pro projection before the injuries really started to pop up last year.
Oh, yeah.
Small sample size. I'm not going to label him an all-pro, but it does seem like a really good match for the Mike McDaniel scheme. Mike White there, this team really was ruined by the quarterback injury last year. And I think if Mike White comes in, if Tua has another concussion or another injury, right, this team can still stay afloat. You didn't have that feeling with them last year. Skylar Thompson started their playoff game, right? You knew it was over at that point. Mike White's in there. You still think you have a fighting shot.
The interesting thing, too, though, is that they hung around with Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
And that was pretty impressive.
It was impressive. And
yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if things stay the way they are right now and Tua comes back, you're going to have a hard time telling me that Miami's not one of the three favorites to win the AFC.
I agree. And I'll tell you right now, I know Aaron Rodgers will be a Jet. Even if Aaron Rodgers is a Jet, I don't want to hear anybody telling me that the Jets should be better than the Dolphins as a preseason pick. That's nonsense. All right. The only way you can say that is if you believe that Tua won't stay healthy. If you're just going to say, I predict the Jets will end up better than the Dolphins because Tua hasn't proven he can stay healthy, and I predict he will get hurt again. You say that, I'm fine with that. But if Tua stays healthy, you can't tell me that the Dolphins are not a better team than the Jets right now. I'm sorry, you just can't. And I'm a Jet fan.
So. Yeah, and it's okay. The Jets are moving north.
Yes.
They're getting better, and I think they're in a good spot, both short-term, long-term, with Aaron Rodgers and whatever they end up doing behind him. But compare offensive, defensive personnel. You have Vic Fangio. Like, there's no advantage the Jets have over the Dolphins. You can't really spin that they do in any way, shape, or form.
So let's talk about the other potential needs now offensively. It's interesting because now they got that San Francisco backfield again for Mike McDaniel. Mostert and Jeff Wilson are there, and I don't see the thing though. I wonder whether we know how they can have the committee approach. That's what San Francisco's done. So Mike McDaniel, of course, was there. So you wonder if that's what they're looking at. And if they do, then maybe they draft somebody. And let's keep in mind they do not have a draft pick at this point in time until pick 51 of round 2. So I'm still saying, well, you know what? A little bit later on, I don't know what their other picks are later, but you could still pick a guy, 4th round, 5th round. If you pick the right guy, he'll fit in perfectly with the committee approach. But if you if you see the right guy there, I mean, who knows? I mean, Miami might decide even to pull the trigger with their first pick.
Yeah, there's 2 philosophy questions I have with Mike McDaniel, and I'm trying to use San Francisco as a template because that's where McDaniel's coming from, that Shanahan tree, and he'll put his own spin on things. He has his own flavor, but I don't think running back is at the top of the priority list. But if someone's there that can do it all, I mean, look what San Fran did for Christian McCaffrey, right? I don't think they are completely ignoring running back in the draft. If the right value player is there, I do think they'll go after him. But yeah, I mean, and these are 1-year rentals. I mean, what did they do at tight end with Mike Gesicki, right? I mean, he's gone, and they have Durham Smythe. Is that really your number 1 tight end, or is
not
it like
in this draft,
right? Or is it like Cincinnati, where it's like, hey, we just aren't not going to use the tight end as a feature position in this offense?
You're right, because they didn't really seem to use it when Gesicki was there.
Right. And, I'm not a huge Gesicki guy anyway, but it's interesting to see. Like, I always like watching year two of a regime, especially, coaching or general manager or both, right? It's hard to really get a full gauge on what their philosophies are with personnel year one. But if you get 2 years of data in, you can start to really see, all right, yeah, they don't like want to put a lot of resources to the tight end. They don't want to put a resource into the running back. But as of right now, based on using San Francisco, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, right, I do think there's a spot for their first pick or even a trade up for a tight end or running back.
And also right tackle.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, that they've got to do something about the right tackle spot. What do you? I mean, and if they were to go right tackle with their first pick, being that it's pick 51, Bergeron could be available. You think?
Yeah, Bergeron could be there. DeJuan Jones could be there. Darnell Wright from Tennessee could be there. Anton Harrison, that's like that second group of tackles that I think could start in year one. I think they're better than what they have out there. I mean, right now they're really going to put out Jerron Christian or Austin Jackson. Those would be my primary backup options. I would feel good about. I also think there's an opening at guard. Liam Eichenberg, he failed at left tackle in year one. And him and Robert Jones are going to have to battle it out. And I don't love either one of them. I do think you can make it with them, right? But this could be another spot where you're drafting a tackle and you let them compete for 2 different spots, right? Darnell Wright is funny. I still have not come around on him the way some have. I mean, some are saying he might be the first tackle drafted. We'll see. Athletically.
By the way, he doesn't. He has that. There are probably some scouts. And they'll do this. There are some scouts that will look at him and go, oh. I mean, because he doesn't have the appealing,
it's not smooth.
Big, I'm going to, run you over. I'm a physical freak, or he just kind of looks like, I don't know. He looks like a guy that, was he a 6th round draft pick? That's what he looks like.
Yeah, he's floppy. And, I saw that at the Senior Bowl. And every now and then I'm asking, am I watching the same tape? Am I watching the same guys? Some of these guys love him. And who I related him to is Tevin Jenkins, of the Bears, who started off at tackle, did terrible, and moved him inside and excelled. And I think he might have a similar trajectory. Like, everyone's saying right tackle for Darnell Wright. I think he deserves a shot there first. But he's a guy that, if he is in the second round, would be a smart pick here. You let him compete for that right tackle job against 2 guys you hope don't win it, right? And if he doesn't excel there, or one of the other guys do excel, you can shift him inside. And I think that's where you see the best football out of him is in a phone booth. But out in space is where I get a little worried with him.
Okay. Over on defense, you take a look, and the defensive line, I think, is in pretty decent shape. They really need Ogba to stay healthy, because he's been a big part of their pass rushing over the last few years. The Bradley Chubb trade was a smart one. They made the signing for David Long. But the big news, of course, was the trade for Jalen Ramsey. And that was, again, a very smart trade. I mean, that's you put Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey on the field at the same time. Wow. You're going to have a hard time locating certain. I'd hate to be maybe the nickelback out there because he's going to get a lot of work.
I mean, he was an undrafted free agent last year. He was probably the biggest surprise of the undrafted free agency period last year, Kohu. So, you have Nick Needham, who had successful early in his career, coming off a couple injuries. Ball hawk at safety, and Javon Holland. I don't think the league knows, or people outside of Miami truly know how good this kid can be. That trade for Ramsey, the Vic Fangio signing to be defensive coordinator, David Long coming in at inside linebacker, and the ascent of Jalen Phillips. This is why I think Miami needs to be. It's not just the offense. I think that this organization as a whole has done such a good job of saying, hey, we are going to air it out, score a ton of points, but we're not going to ignore the defense, right? This defense on paper is scary good.
By the way, what do you think about Raekwon Davis? Raekwon, he got off to a good start, but I don't know what's happened to him the last couple of years. I don't know if it's scheme change or what. but do you believe that they should be looking for a nose tackle?
So on my number three need here is that they need a backup nose tackle.
Okay.
And it's not someone that I would say needs to replace Raekwon Davis, but his career has been up and down, and kind of knew that on him coming out of Alabama. He's got a really unique, odd body type for playing nose tackle in a three-man front. He's enormous, has a lot of range, better athlete than people think, but when he gets sloppy, when his technique is just a little bit off, he doesn't have the margin to play with. So that's why you see the spectrum of his game is really hot and cold. And effort's not an issue with him. Maturity's not an issue. It's just there are certain body types that it's really hard to play inside. And he's got that body type, and I would love to have someone behind him that you feel good about coming in if he is having, a bad stretch of play or he needs a break.
Okay.
They don't have anything behind him at nose tackle that scares anybody. So I think that's a really important need for the defense overall. I think maybe even the top one. And Bradley Chubb is the other one that, his best success was under Fangio in Denver as a rookie. Injuries caught up to him. Von Miller getting hurt kind of altered his game a little bit. So can he get the most out of Chubb like he did years ago? If not, Malik Reed is not the answer to offset the pass rusher on David Phelps. So
he's just a good
little third down guy
player,
that gives you guys 10,
Jalen Phillips is the one that is
he could be a star.
Yes.
He could be a star. He might be the next star pass rusher in the NFL. Had to see it first, right? We're talking about projection, maybe, hasn't done it yet. So those are really, I think, that the top needs on defense is just kind of what they did on the back end with Jalen Ramsey and getting lucky in the undrafted free agency period. They need a year like that along the defensive line.
What do you think that they don't like, or are they either concerned with, or they feel he just needs more time, and that's Channing Tindall? Because they went out and got Long, and Tindall hardly played last year, and we're still not even sure where he's playing, even though I believe I forget where. I remember I actually had this conversation with one of the viewers about this, because he didn't play. There was, I guess, some miscommunication as far as where he fit outside, inside. And I remember doing research on that, and then I just forgot what I talked about. But he was actually hanging out with one of the groups. I forget whether it was the outside guys or the inside guys. But anyway, the fact of the matter is they there's something about what they saw last year that they're just not confident in that he's anywhere near ready.
What Tindall's game is, it's built on speed, explosion, closing in on the action. What his game is not built on, and he did not play a lot at Georgia. Remember, he was really kind of like a one-year guy there.
Yes.
Because the linebacker room was so stacked with NFL talent.
Yes.
But is, his ability to make reads and ability to take those first two steps in a productive manner post-snap. He's often on the wrong side of blocks. That's one thing you see on his tape a lot at Georgia. And the limited time that we saw him last year, preseason, right? Even in camp, some of the camp reports was he couldn't get off blocks, and that's because he was on the wrong side of them, right? He doesn't get that initial angle advantage, and it's all instincts, right? If you want to dumb this down to simple terms, is he doesn't have that instinctual feel where David Long, that's what his game is known for. He's also not the most durable linebacker in the world, so you have to have a little bit of concern there. That I think Tindall is more maybe Jerome Baker's backup, right? If he goes down with an injury, kind of skill set wise, get him in space a little bit more often.
Okay.
But you can make the case that there really is no backup for David Long if he goes down, which he has done the past few years.
All right. So defense, I mean, I would still, though, wouldn't you bring in another nickel at some point, unless they feel Needham could be an insurance policy? Because even though he had such a really good rookie year, you never know how he's going to do year two.
And he's going to get a lot of action.
And he's going to get a lot of action. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a veteran presence on that depth chart at nickel would be an excellent idea if they can find someone that's available. And every year there's defensive backs that shake free in training camp / when the rosters get cut down. So that might be a longer wait.
But bottom line is, if you're looking at and look, this is sort of like Cleveland. The roster's really good. So if you were going to pick some teams that they don't need the first round draft pick, Miami's kind of one of them.
Absolutely.
And that's why they made the deals that they made. So but overall, what would we would probably say offensive line, running back, and only number one tight end if they feel that they want to use that number one tight end, like
Right.
we would think that they might want to. Otherwise, defense is really just all about depth.
Yeah, depth. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's the perfect summary. Is what is their philosophy, running back, tight end? If it's X, then yeah, use them in the draft. If not, ignore it. Offensive line is a must. I think that's where they need to start the draft off, and then you just keep trying to find those. You can find quality contributing linemen, especially nose tackles. When I just got done talking to someone about my defensive tackle stack, and there is a cluster of 3-4 nose tackles that will be there day 3 that can contribute right away too. They just don't have the upside of doing anything more.
Yeah,
that's okay here,
and that's normal. So you don't have to worry about drafting a nose tackle early. Okay, unless they're really, really, really special.